Hello friends, welcome back to Snippet Coder, and we are back with our video, and this is our 6th episode for our Flutter with our WooCommerce series. And in this video we will learn how we can do this user sign in our Flutter application by using the WooCommerce APIs and all. So this is our application, and here we have the sign in button, and when we click on the sign in we will get this login email ID and a password, and here we will put test@gmail.com, and we will first put the invalid and we click on the sign in. So here we are getting login failed because we put the incorrect username password. So now we will put the valid password here. So now we click on the sign in. So here we get the login successful. So here when we refresh the page, we will land it to our category page. Before that, if we are not logged in, we will get to the login page and all. So now here if I refresh the application, you can see we are getting the categories page. That means the user is signed in. So we are storing our login details and token in our settings and all. So before starting the video, if you are new to our channel, subscribe to the channel by clicking on the subscribe button and click the bell icon to get notified about our latest videos. Thank you. So in our application, we are going to use this plugin in our WordPress, and the plugin name is JWT Authentication for VP REST API version 2, and this is one of that compatible plugin which is available right now, which is workable with our REST API and all. And the process is very simple. We have to install the plugin, and rest of the thing we will cover in our video. So here we have already installed it. You can see here this one. When we click on the view details, you will see the same plugin, this one. And a part of this, in our application for storing the token and that login information and all, we are going to use our own plugin for the Flutter, that is API Cache Manager, and that we are going to use for our storing that token and all. And this is the utility which we have developed long time ago, and which use the Flutter SDK and the SQLite package and all for storing that any information which is required to be stored in our local storage and all. For that purpose we can use it. So now let's move to our code part, and there we will start our integration and all. And we will copy this one, and we will go to our PubSpec, and there we will add this plugin. And now we will go to our library folder, and there we have our models, and there we will create a new model file, and we will name it as a login_response_model.dot file. And here we have to create a class here, class login response model, and we will create our variables here, final string token. We will copy this, paste here 4 times, and here we have token, then we have our user email, then we have our user nice name, then we have our user display name, and one more thing we have to add on, that will be our ID, and that will be user ID, the customer ID in our WooCommerce and all for that particular customer. Here we will get the constructor here. Here we will add all the variables as required here. This dot token required, this dot user email, then we have required this dot user nice name, then we have our required this dot user display name, then we have required this dot ID. Then we have to create your factory login response model dot from JSON. Here we have map string dynamic JSON. Here we will return login response model, and we will map all the values. Here we will map it with our JSON token. Same we have to do here, and here also. So now we will move further and we will create our API method for the login customer and all. And for doing that, we can copy over the same method which we have used in our register user. We will just copy this one and we will paste here, and we will modify this one. We will name it as a login customer. Here we have to pass two things. First one will be our username, string, password, and in the request header we have to change the content type as a application/x -www-form -URL encoded, and we not required any authentication here. We will remove this one. Here we have to go to our config file also, and there we have to add the URL. We have to go to the config file. Here we have to add static string customer login URL is equal to /wp-json/JWT-auth/v1/token. And now we will go to here and we will change it here, customer login URL. Here in the JSON encode we have to pass two things, and we have to remove this one, and we have to create the object here. First one will be our username, and we will pass here this username. Then we have our password. We will pass here password. Here we will check if the response status is 200. Then that means we will return a true. That means the user is successfully logged in. And here we have to do few things. First, we have to get the JSON string is equal to JSON.decode, and we will pass a response.body. Then we have to create two private method here, and we are creating those method because in the token we are getting the ID, but in the response we are not getting any customer ID. And for parsing that ID, we have to parse our JWT token, and that ID we will store in our local storage so that we can use it for our further application use for our cart functionality, for our order functionality and all. We have needed those customer ID and all for that customer purpose. So here we have two private function. I'm just copy pasting that function. I will go through those. First one will be our this one, and we will name it as a pass JWT. Our return type will be string and dynamic, and we are passing here the token whatever we are getting, and we are just splitting that token with our dot. And here we are checking if the parts dot length is not equal to 3. That means the token is invalid. And after that we have to get all the payloads in that token, and for that we have to just call our decode base64, and there we have created this function. What it will do, we have named it decode base64, and we will pass here the whatever the string we are passing, and there we are just getting the output, and we are just replacing our hyphen with the plus sign and replacing all our underscore with the slash here, and we are just checking here if that output dot length is mode of 4 and case is 0, then we will break here. If the case is 2, then we are just appending output with our equal, and if the case is 3, then the output will be appending with the single equal to, else we are throwing the error here. And here we are returning our UTF-8.decode base64.decode, and we are just passing here output. Basically these are for decoding our base64 token and all, and we are so that we can get whatever that payload and all in our token. And here we are just calling this one by passing our part 1 for this token, and there we are decoding our JSON decode with this payload, and we are getting our maps here. and those map we have to pass here, and here we will write where decoded data is equal to parse JWT, and we'll pass here JSON string token. Then we will have our where ID is equal to decoded data. Here we have data, then we have our user, then we have our ID, then we will put here toString. So before doing that, let me show you whatever the output we are getting from our that API and all. Let's go to our Postman here. So this is our request here. We are calling this WP JSON JWT auth v1 token, and we are passing here username password. And when I click on the send, so you will see here we are getting the output for all this information. Here we have the token, then we have the user email, user nice name, user display name. We are getting all this information, but the user ID is stored in this token, and for getting that we have to just pass this token in our application, and it will return us all the information in our token. And that parsing and all we are doing here like this way. And in this token we have data. Inside our data we have the user ID, then we have this user model, then inside that we have this ID that we need to pick it here. And what we will do, we will just append this ID inside our JSON string. We'll put here ID is equal to this ID. So what it will do, it will append this ID inside this JSON string and all. So whatever the data we are getting here, and it will just append the ID also with all this information. Then we will store those information in our local storage and all. And for doing that, we have to create one more file here, and we will name it as a shared underscore service dot file. So here basically we need three functions. First one is for checking is the user logged in or not, and the second one is for setting that token and all, and the third one is for getting the token details and all. And we will name it as a class shared service. Here we have the first function. We will name it as a string future bool is logged in, and we will make it as async here. And from here we will just return here await API cache manager dot is API key exists, and we have to pass this key ID that will be login underscore details. That name we are going to give. The second method we will create here static future void set login details. We will make it as async here, and here we have to pass login response model. Here we have to create one object here, API cache DB model. Model is equal to API cache DB model, and we have to pass the key here, and key we are going to use this same key. Sync data we have to do the JSON encode, and we have to pass this model. So what it will do, it will just make this model into our JSON string format, and it will store in the database. And we have to put it to JSON also, and we have to modify our response here. We have to create a map string dynamic to JSON. We have to return here token. Then we have user underscore email, user underscore nice name, user nice name, user underscore display name, user display name. We have our ID here, and we'll pass here this ID. So now we will call this to JSON. Here we have to change it to cache model, and this one is model to JSON. And from here we will call await API cache manager dot add cache data, and we have to pass this cache model. And now we have to create two more functions. Here we have to create static future type of login response model. We will make it as a nullable. Get login details, and we will make it as async here. Here we will create one variable is cache key exists is equal to await API cache manager is API key exists, and we have to pass here this key. Here we will check if key exists, then we will return here where cache data is equal to await API cache manager dot get cache data, and we have to pass this key. And from here we will return login response model. And here we have to create one more thing in the login response model. We have to create here login response model, login response JSON. We have to pass a string JSON, login response model dot from JSON, and we have to pass this JSON. And here we have to do the JSON dot decode. This one we have to change it str, and here we will str, and here we have to import this one. So basically we created one small function which will return our login response model from bypassing this string here, and it will decode it, that string, and it will return us that class file, and that we have to call here login response JSON, and we have to pass this cache data, because in our database we store this data as our string format by this way, you can see, by doing the JSON encode. And here we have to pass dot sync data, and here in the else condition we will return here null. So what we did here, we have created three functions. First one is logged in, then we are checking here if the user is logged in. We are just checking on the basis of this login details key by calling this method that is API key exists. Then here we have our set login detail, and here we are just passing our login response model, and here we have our creating the object with our API cache DB model. We are passing here key and the sync data in the JSON encode format, and here we are just calling this add cache data, and we are adding the data in our database. And then we have our get login detail, and there we have our checking the key. If key exists, then we are just getting the get cache data on the basis of that key, and we are returning here login response JSON from by passing this cache data dot sync data. So now here we will go back, and here what we have to do, we have to just call here shared service dot set login detail, and we have to pass here login response JSON, and we have to pass this JSON encode, and we have to pass this string here. So what it will do, it will save our login detail to our local database. So what we did here, we have created a function login customer by passing the username password. Then we are setting the request header as our application XWWE form URL encoded. Then we have our URL with our customer login URL. Then we have our body, we are passing a username password. Then we are checking here if status code is 200. Then we are just decoding our response body. After that we are getting a token, and we are passing that token to get our ID, that customer ID, and then we are appending this ID into our this response, and that response we are just storing in our login detail, and we are returning it true, in the else we are returning a false. So now let's move further, and we will do our design and do the integration of this API in our application and all. So this is our application, and here we have our sign in page. So now here we have to add one link here, and for that link will be named as a sign in, and for that we have to go to the page here. Here we have the registration. So here after our sign up page button, we need to add one more link here, and we will use our line widget here. Alignment, we are going to use here alignment dot bottom center. Then we have our child here, and we are using a padding. Here the padding we are using a edge instant dot only right 25. Then here we have the child here, and we are using a rich text because we have to show the text plus the hyperlink in the same label. Here we have the text, and we are using a text span, and the style we are using a text style. Colors, we are using a colors dot gray color. Font size, we are using a 14. Then we have the children's here, and we have our text span. Here we have to add text span. Text we will put here. Already have an account, and in the right hand side you can see the text is coming here, and default text we can make it black, and above this we will put some spacing also, height 10, and here one more we will add here, text span. Text will be our sign in. Style we are using here text style. Color we are using a colors dot orange color. Then we have the recognizer, tab gesture recognizer, dot on tab, and from here we will call navigator dot of context dot push name / login. So here you can see color we can change it to blue color. You can see text is coming in, and we can put some space here. Now you can see here already have an account, sign in. When we click here, it will go to the login page, and for that we have to create our page here. Here we will create a folder login. Inside that we will create a new file, login underscore page.txt file. Now we can go to the main.dart also, and here we can define that page /login. Here we can make it with our login page. That we need to create a stateful widget login page, and we can import here. So now if I click on the sign in, you can see here it is coming here, but it is blank because we need to put the code here. So now we can design our login page, and most of the code we have to copy with our registration page, and we will do that. Here we can copy these information, and we can remove confirm password, full name, email and password will be there, and this one also we need to copy. We can remove this hide password. This code also will be copy here, and we can import this also. App bar, we can change it to user login, and here instead of register UI we will make it as a login UI, and we can create here build context, we will save it. So now let's run the page. We are getting here, okay, we have to return here placeholder. We can click here, you can see here page is coming here as a placeholder. Here we have the app bar, we can press here back button, we will go here, and for the form also we can copy this code and we can remove the code which is not needed, and this one also we can copy. So we have already covered all this form and all in our previous video for the user registration all. If you have not yet watched the video, you can watch the video, and there we have write the code step by step, and you can take the copy of that code in this video. We can import here, and from here we don't need the full name, we need the email and the password. Rest of the code we will remove. And here in the sign up also we will just comment this code and we will save it. And here we have to import, and this code also not needed. So now let's click here. You can see here we are getting a email, password, and the sign up. We have to change it to sign in. And when we click here, you can see here we are getting our validation also. All our validations are coming here. And here also if we click here, you can see we are getting show and hide password also. So now we have to call our API also here, and we have to uncomment this here also. And this model is not required. And this code also we will uncomment, and we will import here. We will change it to login customer. Here we have to pass email. We'll put exclamation sign, password, and here in the message we can check here if response, that means true. We will show here login successful, grocery app. If response successful, then we will put here login successful as login failed. Here also we have to put the exclamation sign, and we will just go to our login customer method, and here we have to comment this one because we have to first check it the login is working or not. After that we will do this process, and we will modify our main.dart file also. Here first we will put here sign in, and we have to put some email ID. Now if I click on the sign in, so here we are getting login failed. So now let's try with the valid email ID and all. test@gmail.com, and here we'll put the password. Again we are getting login failed, so let's see what the issue is. We'll put the debugger here, and we click on the sign in. So here we're getting response 404, so might be we are putting the wrong URL. So here in the URL we don't need any endpoint because that we already covered here. If you see here we are getting all the endpoint here. So now let's try again. First we will put the invalid here, test@gmail.com, invalid password. We will click on the sign in. You can see we are getting 403 and message coming here, incorrect password and all. So now means our API is working fine. We are getting here login failed. So now what we will do, we will put the valid here, password. We'll click here sign in, and here we are getting success 200, and we are getting token and everything. So here if I do the debugging, you will see here in the JSON string we are getting token, email ID, user nice name, user display name, and in the decoded data we are getting, by passing the token we are getting this data. You can see here we have this data. Inside this data we have our ID and all. That ID we need to get, and we are getting here. We got it, and now we are appending this ID to this variable. You can see now we have this ID also included. So now we will press here continue. So now what we will do, we will go to our, first we will uncomment this code and we will go to our main.dart file. So now what is happening when we start our application, we are landing to the registration page. So the code which we are going to modify is like, it will check if the user is logged in or not. On the basis of that, it will land user to the categories page, and if user is not logged in, it will stay user to the registration page. Here we have default visit and we will change it to string here, and we will change the default page to our register, and that also need to create here. We will create here, and here we will put visit Flutter binding dot ensure initialize, because this will be used because we need to initialize all the native plugin and all before using it in our application. And here we will check bool underscore result is equal to await shared service, and here we will make it async here. Dot is logged in. Here we will check if underscore result, then we will return here default home as our slash, and here in the initialize routes we have to change it to this default home. Here in the home we will change it to categories page, and we have to create one more for our register also, and we will change it to our register page. So now we will reload the application. You can see here we are landing to our registration page only. So now if I click on the sign in, and from here we will put the valid email ID. If I click on the sign in, so here we are getting the error because first we have to check that whatever the JSON we are getting. So here we put the wrong details, like we have to change it to this one, user underscore email, and for this one we will use this. Display name will be this. We will reload our application again. So now we will again do the sign in. Click on the sign in. We got here login successful. So now let's reload the application, see it's going to the categories page or not. You can see here we are landing to the categories page. We are no more landing to our registration page because the login session data is stored in our application now. So you can see we are getting all the categories and all. So that's all in this video. I hope you like the video. Don't forget to subscribe channel, like, comment, share. I will come back soon with another awesome video. Thank you for watching the video.